Y'all don't get all quiet. The title of that is See Inside Kiingdom.
Okay.
In Matthew 24, now y'all, have I got your attention? Don't you leave.
Yes.
This is for everybody here. If this is your first day here, this is a good day for you to be here.
Okay.
Jesus answered to them in Matthew 24. They're asking him, what's going to happen at the end? What should we be looking for? And I just think it's ironic that Jesus, of all the things he could warn them about, he didn't warn them about global warming. He didn't warn them about, liberals or Republicans or, any upcoming impending doom. He said, take heed that nobody deceives you. In other words, the most important thing that we need to watch today is that we are not deceived out of something that belongs to us. Next page. In Genesis chapter 3, I want you to notice this. Let's go there and read it together. Oh, read that. In Genesis chapter 3, the serpent comes to Eve. I'm just going to put my Bible, I'm not going to read it at the time. The serpent, his first appearance, Satan's first appearance in the Garden of Eden, he approaches Eve and he says to her, he said, did God actually say, you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? Did he say? So the first thing you need to recognize is that the way that the devil gets in on your life and messes with you is he starts questioning what you think you know. Now, how does this happen? Because we get away from the truth, we get away from the word, we get away from fellowship, we get away from people who are talking to the king in us. And suddenly there's all these other opinions get introduced. And suddenly these other thoughts come apart. I've seen people leave this culture, go to another culture that's more tolerant, which means they're more anti-God. I hate to tell everybody this, but God has a way, and his way is right, and it's the only way we need to be on.
Okay, come
there are
on.
not many ways to the top. There are many ways, but there's only one way to the top. Jesus had the audacity to step up and say, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I am the way. I'm the way. If you want to get to the Father, you got to come through me. And so we're looking at a situation where Satan comes in and he introduces a question. He just puts a question in your heart. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with you doing this? What's wrong with you bending it a little bit? After all, you deserve it. After all, you have, you've been through a tough time. You've been abused. You've been hurt. You've been lied to, betrayed. So you have an excuse to do whatever you want to do. I've been under an oppressive situation in my childhood, and now I'm free. I should be able to act out and do whatever I want. And you know what? You can. But I want to tell you that maybe some of those oppressive things were not oppression, but they were life-saving truths in your life. The woman said to the serpent, you may eat of the fruit of the tree in the garden, but God said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it. Really? God didn't say that.
No.
So the first thing you need to know is that where was Eve when this command was given? She was right here. So she didn't really hear she had never heard God. She only heard her husband.
Right.
So she's got a second-hand knowledge of what's going on.
Right.
She's not going off revelation. She's going off what somebody else said. Now maybe Adam added that. He said, don't touch it. Don't even go near it. Your fingernails will fall off. I'm telling you, really strict on this. And what did the serpent say? But you'll not die. You'll not die. And when Eve saw that the tree was desirous to be eaten, and then she heard that the truth that Satan told her that if you eat of this tree, you'll be like him because you'll know good and evil. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life.
Yes. All three of them.
She took it.
Yep.
And she ate it. Next page. Well, this is the same accident I spoke of when I was charging the men. There's a bunch of people ran out and they'd seen these great things that Jesus had done, and then Paul comes along and he's casting. They're taking clothes off Paul's back, and they're laying it on sick people and they're getting healed. So these 7 Jews that had a little side business of casting out devils or doing rituals, it's like witch doctors. They saw Paul do this, and they thought, wow, that's much easier than what we do. We got to chant and cut and, and all this stuff. They just say in the name of Jesus. And sure enough, this Jesus name that he uses is authority. So they said, we command you, devil, in the name that Jesus preaches. The name of Jesus that Paul preaches to come out of him. And the devil spoke out of the man and said, well, Jesus I know, and Paul I know, but who are you? At that point, the 7 sons of Sceva got slapped naked, literally, and ran away without their clothes. And so if you go by somebody else's knowledge and not your own revelation of who Jesus is, that's why your walk is terrible. Because you're just going by what some preacher said or even what your parents said. Boy, you better dive in and find out who he is by yourself.
I know that's right.
2 Timothy 1:12, Paul says, for this reason I suffer these things. I got news for you. If you're going to follow Jesus, if you think it's going to be a bed of roses and a cakewalk, it is not. There's a cross waiting on me every morning that says whatever you think you want to do, you're going to do what he says.
That's it.
Why do I do it? Because he did. Because see, he's got to mean something to you before you start.
Yes.
You can't just do this because you're afraid of going to hell, because it won't last. But when you see what he did for you at Calvary, when you see that he went through all this agony and persecution and trial and just got the crap beat out of him, and then he was nailed to a tree, hung up in the air naked for everybody to see, that when he died, they dragged his body down, threw it in the hole. His soul went to hell, and he was tormented for 3 days. And after 3 days, when the Father was satisfied, when you realize he did all that just on the off chance that you might take the towel, then it means something to you. And Paul said, let me tell you what the Holy Spirit told Paul. Prisons await you and beatings await you.
That's right.
Look what the Lord has done. Hallelujah! No, today we got to sign you up for some sort of giveaway plan just to get you to come to church.
Come on.
Come on, man.
You know what Paul said? He said, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of what I'm going through. You know why? I know whom I have believed.
Yes. Come on,
And I'm
Pastor.
persuaded that he's able to keep what I've committed to him until that day. Until the day, whatever day it is.
Till that day.
I'm committing myself to him. I'm committing my way to him. I'm not leaning on my understanding. That's not y'all doing in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Next page. What does the word know mean? I know him, right? It means to see. To gaze with eyes wide open at something remarkable. To see it. And here's the thing, I get this. One day, this is 30 years ago, I'm working out at the high school, and they got a radio, they have a radio in there, and nobody's in there but me, so I turned it on Christian radio. And I'm under there working out, and the verse of the day comes on. It says John 3:3. It said, except a man be born again, he cannot
Enter.
see
Yeah.
the kingdom. And it dawned on me, that's what it is. People come in here blinking at me sometimes like a frog in a hailstorm. They don't get it. You ain't seen it yet. It's nothing. It's stupid. I can sleep in. I can go to the lake. I can fish. Why am I here? Because when you see him, then there's nothing else. There's nothing else. Next page. I believe that is John 3:2. Next page. Romans 14:7, he said, you see the kingdom. What is the kingdom? It's not eating and drinking, but righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. In other words, this is what I figured out. People don't understand why the big deal about being righteous. I'm not being preachy or better than you. It's just I'm forgiven. We saw a video, I wish I had it up, of this tribe over in Central South America where people went in and preached the gospel, and it's the first time they'd ever heard it. And they had a passion play, and they acted the whole Bible out. I'm talking about from Genesis all the way up to the point where Jesus is crucified. And these people are very private and very held back, and they don't trust outsiders, and they're very stoic. They're not very demonstrative. And all of a sudden the elders got together and meeting, and they said there's no way that they would that this God would leave Jesus on that cross. And so the next day they come into camp and they tell this to these people through an interpreter. And the interpreter says, well, guess what? 3 days later he was risen and he took everybody's sin. And all of a sudden the whole camp goes crazy. Because now for the first time in their life, and the first time in their history, they realize, I don't have to carry this anymore. I don't have to live with this anymore. I don't have to think about it. I've been forgiven. I've been set free. They start crowd surfing the guys. Almost like they're toting them off to eat them. I would have that thought if I was up there. Okay, these cannibals, did we get the right thing? Righteousness. The one thing you cannot purchase is peace. The peace that passes understanding. And joy. Joy in the Holy Ghost. That's the kingdom. I see it now. I see that everything I tried to do to get these things wouldn't work.
That's right.
There's no amount of money, I don't care who you are, that you can possibly make enough money to where you can purchase these things. But Jesus has purchased them for you through his blood. Amen. And I saw that. And it was so amazing. It's changed me forever, like we sang this morning. Next page. Am I with me? John 10:10. So here's where I'm starting. Wow, that's a long introduction. Jeez. All right. Is the roast going to be all right? John 10:10. When I first got saved, when I first got born again, I was 22 years old. And I started reading my Bible. And I guess I was just naive enough, Lisa, to think if God said that, and he meant it. Right. And so I prayed for some stuff, and it didn't happen like I needed it to. And some wise person that was older than me, that was a churchgoer, said, well, you know, sometimes the Lord uses these things to teach us stuff. So you're going to use my sickness or this disease or this calamity or this tragedy, and you put this on me somehow to teach me. Hey, look, I'm reading the book. I'm baby stepping. Yep. I'm doing the stuff I'm supposed to do. I don't need all that. Just tell me. I'll stay after class. I stood out in my yard and I shook my fist at him and I was mad at it. Because you said right here in your book. And so finally one day somebody broke it down for me. And here it is. The thief does not come except to steal, to kill, and to destroy. I, Jesus said, have come that they may have what? Life, and that they may have it more abundantly. So let's just review. Next page. This is your CSI number 1.
Yes.
If you're investigating the crime scene, here's what you look for. The fingerprints of the devil are this. Has something been stolen? Has anything been killed or anything been destroyed? That's his fingerprint. The other side is if it has given life and even more life and that more abundantly, that's Jesus. Let's just review again. Steal, kill, destroy, thumbprint of the devil. Life and more abundantly. So I don't have to look at the photographs of 9/11 and see a devil in the cloud to know that Satan was behind it. Because something got killed, something got stolen, something got destroyed. I know it was him. Next page. John 3:17, God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. I'm convinced the majority of the church that thinks they hear from God are hearing from the devil. That's what he thought. She thought she's getting some good advice that day. Most people here, you live your life based on how condemned you are. I'm happy today because I'm not as condemned. Lord God, we're on the wrong side of the boat. We need to get up off that and move to the other side. And what I mean by the wrong side of the boat, you're under the boat, not out of the water. That's why you're drowning.
Come on.
Let me tell you something. If there's anything of condemnation in it, it's not God. If you hear a voice coming to you in the night, condemning you, it's not God. Even if you think he's trying to propel you to something better or to get free from sin, he won't use your past to beat you up about it.
That's a good word.
Next page. Romans 8:1, there's therefore now what? Say it out loud like you mean it. No condemnation.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
You know what? My kids came home. You know why? Because they knew they could come home and be loved.
Right.
That I wasn't going to stand them up in the yard before they got there and go, okay, let's see what you've done this year.
Right. Come on.
There's food in there, but have you earned it?
Right. Tell the truth.
Have you heard?
We didn't do none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
If I could have run down the highway looking like Woody off of Toy Story to get to him, I would have. you get a picture there?
Yes.
That's what I saw in my head. It's all right. Just give it to you as I get it, folks. Those who are in Christ do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. You know what that means? What are you mindful of? Are you mindful of your flesh? Well, then, yes, you're going to stay condemned all the time. But if you're mindful of your spirit, where you've been redeemed and washed in the blood and made new, then you don't ever have to look at that other guy. Is anybody hearing me today? Next page. See, it's side number 2. Satan tempts and condemns and accuses. That's what he does. Jesus encourages, educates, and forgives. If you've got sin problem in your life, he ain't going to talk about how bad your sin is. He's going to say, look here, we're going to quit this. Because I'm going to replace it with this. How about the woman that was caught in adultery? In adultery! And the religious people dragged her by the hair, butt naked, out in the public, threw her at the feet of Jesus. You talk about shame.
Come on.
She couldn't even look up and see everybody. She couldn't even cover herself. And they're sitting there talking about, the law says this. The law says she must be punished and put to death. What do you say?
Come on, man.
What did he say? I tell you what, he's writing Nicole, Brittany. He's writing all their girlfriends' name in the dirt. And said all of a sudden, the ones that had the rocks started dropping their rocks, beginning with the oldest. May I say to you, that when you get condemnation, when you quit trafficking in it, the thing that's been bothering you the longest will be the first thing that leaves. And after a while, all of them drop their rocks, even the new guy. And what did Jesus say? You slut. You adulterer. He didn't say that. He helped her up. Probably put his robe on. He didn't say that, but I think that's what I would do. What did he say to her? Go and don't do this again. We're not going back here to rehearse what you did. Let's just say that got you here. Don't do whatever you did there again. Go from here and don't do it again. That doesn't sound like condemnation to me. It sounds like encouragement. It almost sounds like, let me help you out. This is what this is what we need to do different. Do it now. Let's do that, and this won't happen again. Right. I can handle that. Can you handle that? Yes. One time I was at a Bible study, and just bear with me. It's not bad. It was a small group. It was a cell group. See, when I say that word, Jody starts twitching. Because we had cell groups, and that was a good name because it needed bars on the windows. Am I right? Okay, so we do small groups now, it's a different thing. But I was in a cell group, and the question came out, the icebreaker was, what do you think about criticism? What do you define criticism? Well, 2 or 3 people in front of me were talking about how, well, it just helps you improve things and helps you change things. And I'm thinking, that ain't my definition. When I was criticized, I was raked over the coals about everything I did wrong. You see what I mean? Yeah. And so, consequently, any kind of correction, I just start, because I'm feeling like I'm fixing to go through that whole process again. But see, when he's going to correct us, he's not going to take us back and show us a film of everything we did wrong. He's going to say, okay, look, it's kind of like this. Your stance is wrong. It's kind of like playing football. Why do you think, like when I was having to teach people at Brewer and Hartselle to lift weights, some of them can squat without their heels coming up. And I said, turn your feet. That's criticism. That's correction. That's not saying, you can't squat. You suck at squatting. You're the worst squatter I've ever seen. Can't you keep your heels down? No. I said, do this. And they went, oh. Right? Well, that's what you're going to go. You're going to do what God says. You're going to go, oh. So that's where all that agony was coming from. And pain and discomfort is for me being disobedient to your word. Oh, well, okay. Right. Next page. God is not the author. 1 Corinthians 14:33. God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints. God is not the author of confusion. Here's a little quiz. If there's confusion present, guess who didn't do it?
That's right. Come on.
If you're confused about something, guess who's not at the helm?
That's right.
Driving the ship. Next page. James 3:16, why is confusion a problem? Because where there's envy and strife, there's confusion and every evil work. When people are confused, the door is open for everything the devil wants to do. Yes. What causes confusion? Envy and strife. Yes. Envy and strife cause confusion. Right? Next page. Why is peace important? Because in Colossians he tells us that peace has to rule. Pastor Tim said this last week. There are places in the Bible where it doesn't say, thou shalt go to this school, thou shalt marry this person.
Right.
So you got to have something else guiding you. The Holy Spirit is going to speak to you. Well, we've already found out that he's not going to speak to you in condemnation.
That's right.
How is he going to lead you? He's going to lead you as you let peace rule in your heart.
Yes.
When you search for peace, you found the heart of God. Next page.
Okay.
See, that's sign number 3. What does Satan do? He brings envy, strife, and confusion. What does Jesus do? He brings peace, peace, and more peace. I guess that's why they call him the Prince of Peace.
Come on now.
That's good.
If you want to find the presence of God, when you see us up here playing, anytime I stop playing my guitar and raise my hands, I made a vow to God 30 years ago. When I felt His presence, I was going to raise my hands.
Okay.
And so when I feel that peace come over me, I'm sorry if I miss a leg, but I'm going to raise my hands because I want some more of that. Next page. Almost done. If the kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. Jesus said this. Because one day the religious folks saw Jesus casting out a devil. Now, I want you to understand something. This is a little side note. We've gotten really smart, and we think that... Tim told me he went to a minister's conference, or actually is a seminary, and they told them they had a seminar, and they're explaining to them that what Jesus called demons was really mental illness. Well, Jesus never got that memo.
That's right.
And I'm just trying to tell you that the greatest place for the devil to hide is in the light. In a place where we have called it something else. And I'm just telling you that if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck and got web feet, it's probably a duck. And if it acts like the devil, and looks like the devil, and sounds like the devil, it's not mental illness, it's the devil.
Okay.
So let's deal with the devil, and then we'll treat the flesh. Amen? But so they came up and they accused Jesus by casting devils out by the power of the devil. And Jesus said, that can't work.
Yep. Right.
The devil not going to cast the devil out.
Right.
House divided.
Okay? A house divided can't stand. Right? Next page. Well, what purpose did Jesus come for? What did you see him do? Let me ask you a question. How many people did Jesus walk up to and make sick? How many? Name me one person that he walked up to and said, you know what, Mr. Crouch, I know that you love me, but I'm going to make you love me more, so I'm going to give you leukemia. Tell you what, we'll just take a 3-year-old boy and we'll give him leukemia. Right, Christian? It doesn't take an Einstein to see there's no God in that. Right? But there are people in this world that are so stupid that they will assign characteristics to God that they would never assign to a human being. If we talked about some doctor that put leukemia on kids or infected them with disease, we'd put them under the jail. But they don't say God did it all day long. How about if there was a scientist that could somehow make a tornado and tear a town up, and we say God didn't do that? Well, he let it happen. Look here. He lets everything happen. I got news for you. He's holding the tower.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yep.
It's all our choice, whatever we want.
Right.
That's right.
I got news for you. Just because, it's like I heard Pat Robertson say one time, it really spoke to me. He said, the earth is built with platelets. This is the tectonic plates, so it won't blow apart. The stress on our planet, it's got moving parts. Like, when a baby's born, their skull's not fused together yet. It's because they know that God knew that inside a baby born, especially, there's a magnet that finds coffee tables. That's why he gives us a whole set of teeth to break off. Or we're learning to walk and fight and ride bikes and change tires. The platelets move because it has to be that way. But nobody said that we're supposed to build a city on top of one.
Right. Come on.
The ocean and the thermodynamics of our planet sometimes produce these gale force, hurricane force storms, but nobody told us we needed to build a flimsy little house down there by the beach.
Yes.
Is that his fault?
Right.
It doesn't hurt us in Kentucky much when there's a hurricane. Well, there's a wind blowing.
Right.
What purpose did Jesus come for? He came the Son of God was manifested that he might destroy
The works.
the works of the devil. What did Jesus do? He went around healing the sick, casting out devils, raising the dead.
Right.
He went around destroying what? The works of the devil. So we can easily attribute the works of the devil of sickness and disease, poverty, death, all those things. That's on the devil's ticket.
Come on.
Next page. Jesus came to redeem us from the curse of the law, to buy back all that Adam had lost. Next page. Well, how many of you believe this is in the Bible? I'm going to say it's not a hard test. You can look it up. Whosoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. If I ask people randomly, if I got, everybody's yawning at me today, I'm trying to stay animated. Keep your attention. I wear tap shoes next time, but the thing is that it's like if I ask people, is your name written in the Lamb's Book of Life? Anybody want to say that? Yes. You're afraid to raise your hand, I get it.
Yes. I'm not doing
We're easy to say that, Kim, because we believe it. Have you seen the book? I haven't seen the book. I really have never seen anybody write my hand, no. But I just kind of believe that part.
That's right.
Whosoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. I just believe that I'm saved because I know that I know that I am. You know, we can sing the song.
Yep.
Well, if you've trusted your life to Jesus Christ, you can by faith say, I have been saved.
Yes.
I have been redeemed. I am born again. If you can sign up for this, then the Greek word for saved is the word sozo, S-O-Z-O. And the word sozo, if you put it in that sentence where it belongs, doesn't just mean that you get to go to heaven one day. Next page.
Come on, Pastor.
It means you're saved, healed, delivered, and protected. That's who you are. That's what Jesus did. He didn't come here to halfway save you. When they asked him, by what authority do you do this? He said, well, I'll ask you a question. Which is easier?
Come on.
To say, rise and be healed? Or to say your sins are forgiven? They didn't answer him. You know what Jesus did either? You know why? Because it's the same day.
Okay.
The day my sins were forgiven was the day my diseases were healed.
Come on.
The day my sins were forgiven was the day I don't have to worry about anything getting me anymore.
Come on.
The day my sins were forgiven was the day my drug addiction ended.
Yes.
Come on.
Because he did it all. When he stretched out his arms and said it is finished, that's what he meant. Next page. CSI number 4 and 5. On Satan's sheet is hell, disease, bondage, and poverty. On Jesus' side is heaven, healing, freedom, and prosperity.
Yes.
And you can't dice it up any other kind of way.
Amen.
Come on.
So when you're investigating your life, it makes it a whole lot easier to know what's the devil and what's God.
Come on.
Because you don't say, well, I don't be fighting against God. You're going to lose.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
Always.
You're not going to beat him in anything. I don't go against God's will. You're not.
Right.
If you're trying to find his will, you're not.
Right.
Going to miss it.
Right. That's right.
But if it's the enemy, I did a sermon several years ago, and I'm going to close right here. Where God does do windows, but he doesn't do mountains. He'll open windows for you. But the mountains, that's your job.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The job that he's given you is to take authority over your life.
Okay.
And so you won't do that until you know who you are.
That's right. Come on.
You're still fighting this question of who am I? Am I good enough? And if you're still fighting being condemned all the time and unworthy and I can't show my face, you know what? Nobody cares about your face.
Come on. Right.
I don't worry about your face when I'm getting ready in the morning. I worry about my face.
Right.
Right.
Right? I don't care about your face.
Huh. Huh.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, quit worrying about what everybody thinks. They don't think about you.
Amen.
What person says, I'm going to go, oh, I can't go to that building because all those people be thinking about me. How conceited are you?
Oh my goodness.
We're not thinking about you. We're thinking about what happened at work. We're thinking about all the stuff we're going to lay before God. I got news for you. He's not here. He's not bringing you to his presence so he can beat you up. He just wants to love you right where you're at. Talk to you about the things that are causing pain in your life and help you get out of it. That's what it's about.
Right.
Is it easy? It's easy to get. It's just, it costs everything you have. That's the deal. That's the part that everybody chokes on. I'm like, what part of that other stuff do you want to keep?
That's right.
Have you ever had a real yard sale? You know what a real yard sale is? This is my favorite yard sale. You hire a big truck and you take it to the dump. That's a yard sale. Because I don't have to look at it anymore. I don't have to figure out, should I hold on to it or not? I'm just done. As I went to school with a guy in Alabama, and every year he sold all his clothes at the end of the year and bought new ones.
Oh, wow.
I'm going, but he said, no, it's cool. I get rid of old stuff, I get new stuff. I'm thinking, what would you do if you could get rid of all your old stuff, knowing that God's going to bring you new stuff? You'd let go of this thing you're afraid to let go of because I might need it later. And I'm telling you what, if you need it later, He'll bring it to you here. Right. And so I'm just saying this morning before we close, we're going to take communion together. What is communion? Communion is eating a cracker and drinking some juice. But what are you wanting to do in that moment? Because what you're saying is, I'm remembering that Jesus' body was torn so mine could be healed.
Right. Yeah.
I'm drinking this juice remembering that His blood was shed so that mine might be made holy. That as I do this in remembrance of His death, how remember He died in my place so that I could be risen in His likeness. Not just someday, but right now. I want to pray with you before we take, come on up here, guys.